I'm Vanessa Joy here with PPA, and in this video I'm going to show you a ton of ways that you would use on and off camera flash indoors on a wedding day. Stay tuned. We're gonna start here with on-camera flash. I'm gonna show you 3 different ways that I would use on-camera flash on a wedding day, including the direct flash trend as well as shutter drag. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then we're gonna go into an off-camera flash setup in a reception room, which is, a thing a lot of people ask for actually. So we're gonna go over all of that, but let's start with our on-camera flash. We have our gorgeous model, Danielle here, who is not only a model, she is a real bride of mine, photographed her wedding a few months ago. She already has her wedding album. So watch the video here on PPA that I'll have for you on how to make sure that your clients get wedding albums done quickly. You had it, what, like 2 months after your wedding?
Oh yeah, it was the quickest thing. Everyone couldn't believe I had it already.
More on that later. Okay, let's start off. I'm shooting with the Canon R5 Mark II. Love this camera, brand new. This is my second day with it. And then I've got my Profoto A10. The concepts I'm going to show you will work with any flash and any camera, so just keep that in mind. Let's start off with the direct flash trend, because the direct flash trend is something that's so nostalgic to couples getting married right now. It's very popular and it's really easy to shoot, honestly. So let's just start there. Step 1, turn your camera on. Now, when you're shooting with direct flash, your flash is really close to your subject. So you actually want to go lower on ISO, even if you're in a dark room. So I'm gonna go to 400. That'll be my sweet spot. Now, the rest of your settings depend on how you want the photo to look. If you're going for the true trend that's happening right now, you'll probably want to go for a higher f-stop number. So I'm actually going to go to f7.1. And then I'm going to bring my shutter down to, let's go to 200th of a second. So I'm under my sync speed. Now, this is a pretty bright room, so I have a feeling I'm actually going to have to change that and raise my shutter speed. But let's take a photo without the flash first, just to see the background that I'm working with. And then what I think I'll have you do, Danielle, is maybe come closer to this wall. The whole point of this direct flash trend is that there's a shadow, a harsh shadow that ends up on the wall. So the closer she is to the wall, the more I can show that. Yeah, I think this will work great because the photo that I'm about to take is almost dark. So basically that's what you want. You want the photo to be almost dark without your flash. So that's what we're going for this trend. My flash is set to TTL, so auto through the lens, and then I am gonna lower it a half a stop on that exposure compensation just because it is close and it tends to be bright. So, and don't worry, I'll put a modifier on it in a second. I always get that question. All right, so vertical is key here, people, because we want that flash. Nice, so it's a very paparazzi look. It's super harsh, but that is exactly what we're going for. So here we've got that look, cute, and these are more fun photos. So what I'll have you do is like play this up, because the more she does with this, the more shadows I'm gonna get on the wall. And that's a lot of fun, cute, perfect, love it. And then when she leans forward and comes forward, come like 3 steps forward, that's gonna exasperate the shadow on the wall. So I should try one more so we show a big difference. There we go. Woo, like that. Now we see more of the shadow. So cute. And that is the direct flash trend. Now, direct flash definitely shows more shine. It's kind of a double-edged sword because direct flash will actually smooth out a face, all the wrinkles, but it will show more specular highlights or shine on the skin. So here's what you can do to combat that. So this is a dome diffuser, which for Profoto you can just slap on like that. You could also use one of the bigger Gary Fong ones. Doesn't matter, the point is that it's a diffuser, and diffusers cut down on specular highlights. So I'm just gonna take a couple more pics, and then I'm gonna show you a little trick. All right, take a couple more like this. So cute, love it. Perfect. So now you can see a little bit less shine. I have my flash head zoomed out all the way, so it's really covering the entire wide range that it can. But if we want to, we can zoom in my flash head, and then it's gonna create more of a spotlight, which is fun too. So let's try this so you can see the difference. Cute. And now I like doing this also with horizontals. So with those 2 photos, you can see on the bottom, the dress isn't lit as much, but it makes more of a difference when I'm about here. Cute, love that. And then I'm gonna tilt this up one, boop, like that. And you'll see it starts to create more of like a spotlight look. Love it. Perfect, so good. So now you can see, especially on the background, it's creating like that vignette. Just an option, something for you to do. Enough with the direct flash there, let's go into a shutter drag, which is also direct flash. But to do this, we wanna have background ambiance. So not a direct wall here, it's gonna be better. I'm gonna have you just stand right there, Danielle. I'm gonna put on a zoom lens because that's one of my favorite ways to shutter drag. So I'm gonna come over here, I'm gonna grab my 15 to 35, so I have a zoom. So for this, let's just go ahead and take a direct flash photo just to show. All right, so that's what direct flash looks like. And you can see we have some of the ambient light coming into the background. But what you need to do for this is you still want to create an exposure that is mostly dark, but you need to have your shutter speed really low. A cheat way to do this, let me show you the cheat way to do this first. Go into mode. And you're gonna go into shutter priority. And then just lower your shutter, I would say to about 20th of a second, and let the camera do the rest of the work for you. You might as well. They're pretty intelligent at this point. So we've got auto on our flash. We're on shutter priority here. We're going down to 20th of a second and then letting the camera do the rest of the exposure for us. Now the key to the shutter drag is while you're taking the photo, you have to move the camera. You can move it side to side, up and down in a circle, or you can zoom while you're shooting. I prefer zooming in, not zooming out. Let me just show you that first. Actually, let's do the camera shake first. So just pretend like, woo, dancing. Yep, yeah. Just like, I know how to do that. So as I'm shooting, I'm shaking around, all right? So let's take a look at what we have here. Perfect. And that's exactly what we're looking for, right? You remember that from your wedding.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Yes.
The whole country.
Yep. So that is the look that we're going for. A little bit of movement. It's a little bit bright right now. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go into my exposure compensation, which ironically was already down, and I'm going to lower it even more. You know what? No, I'm not. I'm going to go into my flash and lower it down a stop. Now, of course, you could set this to manual. That is an option. Right now, I'm going to stick to shutter priority just so you can get an idea of how to finesse it when you're in there. Then I'll switch to manual, which is how I would actually shoot it. So let's do a couple more like this. We'll do one. First one's going to be a zoom in. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to do zoom out. 1, 2, 3. All right, so you can see between the two of them, the zoom in allows it to be more clear on the person's face versus the zoom out. It's a little bit more of the light actually covers their face. Now, as you can notice between those two, they're very different exposures. So that's one of the reasons why I tend to shoot in all manual because, well, that second one, completely different from the first one. And I want actually something in between. So I'm gonna look at the settings here, and this is kind of your continued cheat if you want to. I'm gonna look at the settings that it had on this photo that was sort of how I wanted it. We were at 20th of a second, f14, and ISO 400. So I'm gonna switch back to manual. Gonna go to ISO 400, 20th of a second. I liked 20th. I think I'm gonna go to 15th of a second so I have a little bit more time for my blur. And then I'm not gonna go all the way up to 14 because I don't want it that dark. I'm gonna hit F11 and we'll see. All right, now let's do that zoom in, zoom out. Give me like a crazy like at you face. Perfect. Awesome. So we did one zooming in, one zooming out, and now you can see how consistent those are. And that's the look I'm going for. All right, now I'm gonna do a whole bunch. We're just swirling. Ready, 1, 2, 3. Love it. Perfect. We'll shake up, and then we'll do it down, and that way. There, perfect. Awesome. So you can really play with it. It's a lot of fun. I usually save it for dancing photos, photos with my couple, maybe a little more controlled because you have to take a bunch of them to get a good one, honestly. That's a good one though. I like that one. That like the lights like perfectly. So much fun. So that's dragging the shutter. These are all direct flash. Now let's do a bounce flash scenario, which actually, this is your perfect spot for it. Bouncing your flash means you're turning your flash head. I tend to take this off because I don't want to use a Gary Fong or a big diffuser. You could. That brings more catch light into the eyes and it allows your flash to bounce as well as fill, but to really illustrate it and to get more of that directional light, I tend to shoot with it off. So bounce flash, what we're doing is we're finding a light colored wall. If you are in a room where there's dark colored walls, this is not going to work for you. You have to have white or light colored walls. Keep in mind that if that light colored wall is yellow, it's going to create a yellow hue, which you could correct with your white balance. By the way, I've been on auto white balance, white priority this whole time. Or have I been on? I think I've actually been on cloudy day. I have. So that's why my photos are a little warm. That's okay. Previously had it there, but it's good. Anyway, so you have to have a light colored wall, and then don't worry, I'm gonna show you what to do if you have a dark colored wall last. So let's pretend like this is your, yeah, right there, that's fine. Let's pretend this is a dance floor, even if it's not, you know what, if you come, yeah, I think right there, that's good. I wanna give you that background. Our ideal situation is we have a white wall, white ceiling. We actually have a little bit of both here, so that's great. And we're gonna use that as our light source. So I'm not pointing at her, I'm bouncing the light off of here. And it's angle of incidence equals angle of reflection. So if you play pool, same kind of thing. If the light hits at this, angle, I don't know what that is, 45 degrees, it's going to come off at an opposite but equal angle of 45 degrees. And ideally, you also want your subject's face to be facing wherever the light is. So when I'm photographing Danielle, you're gonna watch me actually move the flash depending on where her face is pointed, where her nose is pointed. Let's do it incorrectly first so you can see why. All right, you're gonna take off the shutter drag situation. Shutter drag is not gonna work as well with this. So we're gonna go into ISO 400, right? I'm really just getting an exposure setting, let's just say right about there, where I can get a proper exposure in the background, and then I'll be lighting her face afterwards. So we're at 200th of a second, 400 ISO, and 3.5. And now we're just going here, and instead of underexposing my exposure compensation, I'm actually going to go up about a half a stop. For whatever reason, it tends to underexpose the flash power here, usually when I do this. So let's just show you what this looks like. So Danielle's gonna look in the correct direction that way, which she did. I'm gonna take a picture, and you can see how the light is coming off of the side. Now go ahead and look the wrong way, and I'm still gonna take the picture this way. And it's not the worst thing in the world, but you can see it's lighting more of her arm than the front of her face. So keep going that way. If she had turned her head that way, I would have quickly flipped this way. Now I'm bouncing off this white wall, this white column here, take the same photo, and then now the light is in her face. It's much more flattering than that previous photo. So kind of going back and forth between those two. We've lit up her eyes. We've given her like great cheekbones and jawline. Just much more flattering. You can do this vertically as well. So if I was shooting vertically, you could always go flat. You could go right behind you as long as there's a white wall. So let's do that first. Nice. And then look over that way, and I'll point my flash that way, and then look over that way. And this one's a little bit awkward because you have to turn the flash to get it to point. Cute. And then look at me again. Awesome. And it's just so fun. It's having a huge light source, so the light is super soft and lovely. There isn't a harsh shadow underneath her chin. It's just a nice soft light because I have a big light source that I'm bouncing off of. If it is in my control, on a wedding day, I will shoot dance floor photos with either that direct shutter drag or bounce flash. I don't shoot off-camera flash unless I absolutely have to. And better yet, if there is a videographer or if there's entertainment lights, intelligent lighting, I'm always, not always, because I have to shoot different angles, but I'm mostly going to shoot where those lights are coming from behind, and it looks like I'm shooting off-camera flash because of that. So I'm creating an exposure where I see the DJ lights coming from behind into my camera to look like lights that are set up there, and then I'm just filling with the flash on camera. All right, that's it for on-camera indoors. Now we're gonna do off-camera flash setup like you would when you're photographing speeches or dances. So let's go. Now we've moved into the reception hall. I'm gonna show you how I photograph toasts, and then we'll move into dance floor, all with off-camera flash. Now, could you shoot direct flash? You could, but then everything in the foreground is going to be brighter. Could you shoot bounce flash? Yes, you could, but your flash power is going to be probably close to max, and it's gonna run through your batteries pretty quickly. And of course, if you have dark walls, you can't shoot bounce flash at all. So off-camera flash is one of the ways that you can do this. Now, very important, you need to make sure your off-camera flash has a grid on it. This is literally the secret. If you have tried to shoot off-camera flash at a venue without a grid, you will notice that it just makes everything light and bright and there's no dimension to the light. Now, of course, if that's what you're going for, more power to you. But if you're going for more of an ambiance, being able to see the candle light and having light and shadows, then a grid is where you want to be because it's going to hone in your light, point it to where you want it to be instead of letting it spread out all over, let's say, the florals and the table decor. So grid is where it's at. I'm gonna start with one off-camera flash. We'll build from there. I'm gonna start with no flash on my light, and then I will put on my camera, and then I will put a flash on. So you'll really see a 3-light setup by the end of this. Okay, one light first. We're gonna be photographing with my A10, and as always, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get an exposure for my background, not my subject, for my background. So I'm gonna find Danielle here. She's right there. She's gonna pretend like she's listening to someone toast her. All right, so my background is gonna look right about there. I want to see the lights in the background. I want to see that color. I don't put a gel on here to wash out that color. Some people will tell you, okay, put a CTO gel, an orange gel here so that the light in the background doesn't look orange. Well, quite frankly, I want it to look orange because I want that color, that ambiance to shine through. But if you don't want it and it looks too orange, then your option is to put an orange gel on here. All right, so that's a good exposure for me. Right now it's 400 ISO, but if you were in an actual setting where it's not daylight like it is right now, you would probably be closer to 1600 or 2000 ISO. The higher that you go, the less your flash is going to have to work for you. But of course, it's about balancing the background, the ambient light, and your flash. That being said, let me give you the rest of my exposure. So we're at 3.5. A lot of times I'm a little bit more wide open than that, so I'm around f2, and then I'm at 200th of a second. I usually do say around 1/60th to 200th of a second because it eliminates camera shake, which when you are letting ambient light is a possibility, especially when we're on the dance floor. For toasts, not as much, but let's just stay in a happy spot. Now I'm gonna position my flash where I think my couple is going to be looking, and I'm gonna position another light where I think the person giving the toast is going to be looking. Sometimes it's all in the same area, sometimes not, but we'll get there. So for this first one, let's just say Danielle's in that spot. I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna point this light at her face, which is right about there. Good. This is 3A. My channel's on 3A. So we're pointing it right at her. And because of the grid, I'm not going to light anything else except for really her and hopefully, you know, her partner next to her. But we decided to not have him here today. I am on auto to start, but let's pretend you don't have TTL in your flash. I want to give you some kind of solution so it doesn't seem so daunting. What I suggest you do is kind of think about what your settings are. Is it low light or not low light? And then you can guesstimate your flash power. Of course, you could use a light meter if you want to, but in this circumstance, I'm not gonna walk over to my client and throw a light meter in front of her face to figure this out. This is a pretty bright place, but not super bright, so I'm gonna guess my flash power is gonna be at 5, about. Maybe 1/64th if you're going with fractions. If it were a darker room and I was photographing at around 2000 ISO, then I'd probably have an even lower setting, maybe somewhere around 2 or 3 on my ProPhoto flash power, or around 1/120th of a second if you're using fractions. So I'm gonna start there just so you can see what it would look like without me using TTL in case your flash does not have that capability. I'm just gonna start at 4. So let's go ahead. We'll take a test shot. Love it. All right, so it's too little. It's a little bit of light on her, but not nearly enough. So I'm gonna go ahead, and I was at 4, I'm gonna go to 6, and we'll see what that looks like. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Oh, getting a little bit more. And actually, I kind of like that light on her face right now. I'm gonna go up just another half, so I'm at 6.5 right now. I'm gonna take one photo. Whenever you're working with flash, I suggest you change one thing at a time, not two. So one thing at a time, 1, 2, 3. Great, love the light on her face. I just want more of the background light. So in order to get more of the background light without affecting what's on your flash exposure, her face, although it will affect it a little bit because the ambient light is hitting her face, you're gonna lower your shutter speed. So instead of 200th of a second, I'm gonna go to 100 and you'll notice a difference pretty big. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. So between the two of those, you can really see there's much more happening in the background. It is a little bit too much because now I notice the exit sign, so I'm going to split the difference and just go to 1/60th of a second. All right, so now pretend someone is toasting you from over there. You're just smiling at them. Oh my God, that was the funniest thing. I can't believe you said that about me in front of my whole family. Yeah, perfect. All right, now ideally I would have some foreground, maybe some florals here that would even add to the dimension of this. All right, but let's keep going from there. All right, that's lighting her really nicely, but it is a little bit flat because I don't have a kicker. So I'm gonna take my second light here and I'm going to use this light to do two things. Let's pretend the person giving the toast is standing right here, right, facing the couple. I want to light that person's face, the speaker's face, as well as let that light give a rim light to my couple. So I'm going to take this second light. This is a Profoto B10, but you could use just a second flash. It doesn't have to be this powerful. This just happens to be what I have. And I'm going to crisscross these lights. So this one is going to come right about here. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking for it to come on the back side of her. I don't want it to come on this side, right? Because I'm photographing there. If I come it on that direction, it's gonna light her face. And I don't wanna light her face anymore. I just wanna give her a rim light. So this also has a grid on it. It's gonna point to that direction. And we're going to use this not just to backlight her, but also to front light the person giving the toast. I wish I had like a Barbie doll right now. And like put the Barbie doll as the person, but I'll find a way to illustrate this. Maybe Rob will get in the photo. Okay, so we're gonna go to, this is gonna be my B light, so I can control them separately from my thingy here, my transmitter. So I did mention that the light, that one over there is at 6.5. Now this is a more powerful light, so I'm not gonna put it to 6.5, I'm gonna put it to 5. Actually should be around 5.5 and we'll start from there. All right, so let's go back over to where I am. We'll take a picture. I'll show you what it looks like on our couple's face first, or Danielle's face. Then we'll flip around and pretend she's listening to someone talk. All right, so let's just take this. 1, 2, 3, good. Oh, look at the glow on her veil now. Such a big difference between that photo and the one before. Much more dynamic. It was just lighting her up, and that lighting is absolutely perfect. And babe, I don't know if you mind just standing right there? I'm gonna pretend like you're the person giving the toast. The face it's making right now. Yep, right about there. That should do it.
This is my microphone.
Yeah. So let's just pretend Rob is giving the toast to Danielle. You'll end up seeing the light on his face. Boop. You will, actually. I'm going to come this way a little bit more. There we go. 1, 2, 3. All right. So right now it's a little bit pointed down and a little bit dark. So what I would do, and it should still be okay, I'm going to move this over a little bit. And this is something you set up, obviously, before toasts are actually happening. I'm going to go up to 6.5 here. This is a little bit further away, which is probably why it's the same, even though this is a more powerful light. Let's take a photo again of Rob. There we go. Now he's lit. And if he comes a little bit off the wall, it'll look even better. But I'm going to move this. We'll just go up to 10. No, I'm just kidding. Up to 7.1. Just a little bit brighter. And I think the exposure on him will be good. Yeah, a little bit too bright, but actually it's not horrible. Let me do from this angle, which is really the angle I would want. Right about there. And then Rob, move this way. That's where we set you up. Now you can see right there, that's the reason off-camera flash is a little bit difficult, honestly, because you can't adjust where the person is, right? So if we did it there, right, that would be your typical spot. And hopefully there's not a wall behind them. But let me flip around to the other side to see if that brightness of the light is too much for Danielle. And if it is, we just move the direction of the light. So right there, Rob your mesh up. Good, 1, 2, 3. Awesome, and it's not, it looks perfect. So that right there is how you would set up toast. And again, you're doing it beforehand. You're having a guest stand in or an assistant stand in, so you're getting the light exactly where you want it. But you can tell the thing that's difficult is the movement of the lights. When the toasts are actually happening, or as we're gonna go into the dance floor, it can be a little bit difficult, which is why I personally won't use off-camera flash unless I absolutely have to. All right, let's get into the dancing. There's not much that is different with dancing photos, but then I want to show you how I would use an on-camera flash. So we're gonna pretend this is our dance floor over here. Wouldn't you love how I just didn't tell you to be dancing by yourself? You're like, thanks, Vanessa. Awesome. So this is gonna work no matter how big your dance floor is. It doesn't matter. The thing to make sure you have are the grids. It's gonna hone in that light to where we want it to be. So I'm gonna photograph you, I think right here. Yeah, right there is good. That's a nicer background. So what I'll do is, you have two methods that you can do here. You can have your two lights on opposite corners of the dance floor. You can also just have one light that ends up being your backlight. And of course you can throw a light on the front light as well. So I'm gonna show you a bunch of those really quickly because the settings are all the same and you're just positioning your lights where you want them. So let's just pretend that I don't have this light back here is not on. The only one I have on is this light right here. This is my B10. So you would position this in some part of the dance floor, thinking about what you want as your background, how you're going to shoot, and then I'll show you as you move around what that looks like. I'm gonna put on the 50mm lens just because that's a little bit more realistic for a dance floor. Maybe you shoot with 15-35, but I've got my 50 here, so that'll be nice and easy. Now your settings for a dance floor as far as your camera is concerned, usually I'm somewhere around 2000 ISO. Again, it depends on how dark the room is that you're photographing and how much of the ambient light you want to show. So for me, it's actually gonna stay pretty much the same that I just photographed, with the exception of I'm going to 200th of a second. You don't have to dance yet. She's ready for it.
Dancing is already playing in my head.
So we're at 200th of a second. 400 ISO, again, that will change if you're in a darker scenario, and 3.5 on the aperture. Now the only light that is doing anything is this light here. And if I set up that light somewhere on the dance floor, I would likely put it on TTL on auto. But if it's far enough away from the dance floor, you could have it on manual, and then depending, as long as your subject, the center of the dance floor is pretty much the same where you're photographing, it's gonna be the correct exposure on manual. But let's stick on TTL because I think that's a little bit more realistic. So we're gonna go here, just gonna take a test. Perfect. All right, and you can see it's just lighting up the dance floor. Now, as I move around, this is kind of the key. You have to see what this one light does. So go ahead, dance it up there. And then as I come here, cute, nice. And yeah, as like she looks in a different spot, it's gonna do a bunch of different things, even if I shoot back. Cool. Hold on 1 second. So taking a look at those, ooh, that light went crazy. Let's do one more this way, just so you can see what a backlight scenario looks like. And none of these are necessarily bad or wrong. They just are preferences depending on how you want your light to look. So just kind of did a little roundabout there to see what it would look like with one light. Now let's go ahead and turn on this light, and it would be on the opposite corner of the dance floor, right there. And I'm still gonna keep it on TTL. All right, and let's do the exact same thing. So one picture here, nice. And then as we turn, perfect, cute. So once we have that TTL exposure, you can see how much power works. I would recommend switching to manual so you don't have any of those fluctuations. So that's what I did, switching to manual, and then we're gonna take a bunch of shots. You're gonna notice the backlight as well as the kicker. And what's nice about this is you're not gonna get into a situation where your subject is completely silhouetted. Depending on where you go, you'll be able to even get a little bit of that starburst, which is kind of fun. You'll see, let's just take a bunch of fake dancing shots. Woo, nice, perfect. Oh, it's so much fun. Let me go this way. Cute, awesome. And then I'm gonna do one on purpose, get the flash in there. Woo. Exactly. Fun. And then you'll see where we get that light in there. All right, last thing I want to do, I'm going to put a flash on top of here instead of just the transmitter. That way we get that fill light, and you have a little bit more control that way. Of course, with any light you put on, you're going to have more control. It's just a lot more to think about. So we're going to pop this on, turn it on. We will make this Air Group C, air is on, channel 3. We'll stick this on manual. Now, just to keep in mind, with manual here, you have to, as you get closer to your subject and you're fill flashing, you're going to have to lower your power. As you get further away, you would raise your power. You might want to keep this on TTL, but then I believe it flips all these other ones to TTL. So just something to think about. You could, of course, shoot everything TTL, but your fluctuations of light power would happen. Okay, let's just go right here. We'll do that last shot. And then I'm pointing it down, not all the way down, just like a little bit up right there. And my flash head is spread out, not all the way, but pretty close. All right, so let's just take a photo there. Perfect. Awesome. So you can see that fills it in, which works out really nicely, especially if I come to like this side right here, where I would have two competing lights. So now let's go this way. Awesome. So now I've filled that in, and you could fill it in a little bit less if you want to. So that was at 3.9, let's go to 2. Awesome. Now that's a little bit less. You're getting some of the dimension in there still. And even if I go vertical, boop, cute. All right, so just different looks depending on what you want to do. My personal preference, like I mentioned, is on camera if at all possible. If I'm shooting off camera, I usually do one light. So I'm gonna turn off that light real quick. So that's light A. We're gonna turn that one off so that you can see my preference and how I like to shoot. So I would have an on-camera flash. This one would be off. Let's just double check. Turn it off, and then I would have just one as a kicker. So this is my preference. I think it's easiest. I keep everything on TTL, and let's go ahead and just show what that looks like. Cute. So you can see, depending on where we are, I'm gonna turn this way. Okay, right there, 1, 2, 3. Cute. Nice. So just different scenarios depending what you want to do. I hope I've given you a really good set of uses for wedding photography, indoor flash, both on and off camera. And of course, if you're watching this here on PBA's YouTube, hit like and subscribe. I'm Vanessa Joy, and I'll see you around.